According to this computer now.
How you doing, everybody? This is Dennis Michelson. Welcome to the science of fantasy football. Why the science of fantasy football? Well, you get a meteorologist and a biologist together, and they're going to use the scientific method to dig through the piles and piles of data. And let me tell you, folks, as we're getting used to using AI to help sort through all of that data, we have even more stacks of data than ever before. And joining me as he does each and every week, because he is the fantasy professor, a real professor, although he's enjoying his retirement, I might
Yep.
say. It is Dr. John Bush. And John, we have entered
Uh-oh.
another exciting portion and
Yeah.
time of the fantasy football season. We're into the instant Hall of Famer season in
Oh
fantasy.
boy.
Yeah, did you hear about Dean Connors?
No.
So you've never heard of Dean Connors either, right?
No.
Running back.
No.
I have not. So I dig very deep into the college class of players because I have a lot of dynasty leagues. Every once in a while, and just I shouldn't say every once in a while, it's every year.
Okay.
Every year, there is a guy that emerges in week one of the preseason that I've never heard of. Dean Connors is him. He had a big game for the Los Angeles Rams. And you know what I saw this morning? Someone picked up Dean Connors in what I would call a moderately deep league. In moderately deep, I'll define by the fact that Malik Davis is the bum on my roster. It's a 12-team league. We don't have super deep benches. I mean, some of the benches are so big in some of these dynasty leagues that a guy like Dean Connors might come into play,
Right.
but not in this league. And the guy dropped Isaiah Bond.
Hmm.
And I looked at my roster and I said, Isaiah Bond might be better than my worst wide receiver. I'm going to put in a bid on him. I'm amazed every season how people overreact to preseason. It is kind of a conundrum because there's a lot of things happening, whether it's injuries, whether it's guys having strong performances that you didn't think much of, whether it's guys you thought pretty highly of that had a really bad week.
Right.
There's a lot of data points, but my goodness, I, I would we look at one game out of 100 and value that as more than 1% of the data?
No, you do not do that. Uh, the top-down landscape view of metrics would not start there. They would look at the total and yeah, you look for the giraffes, the ones that are above the grass line. They stick their head up there, and a lot of times next week the head is gone, right? They stick their head back in the mix. And so in horse racing, the same thing. Sometimes a horse will just pop up out of nowhere, and for whatever reason, it all worked. The mud or the turf or the dry conditions or whatever, running at night, just something, the moon, full moon, something allowed that to happen, and it may not ever happen again. So uh, it's just be aware that the thing we have to worry about is tricking ourselves, Dennis. Ever in behavioral economics and psych, that's the scary thing is we trick ourselves. And
Yes.
remember that it was good 10,000 years ago to jump up the tree if the weeds were shaking because a saber tooth could be hiding in there and you wanted to survive another day. And if you jumped up and it was just a ground squirrel, you'd be like, oh, you have a good laugh, or a woodchuck, you just laugh and maybe you go and catch it and eat it. I mean, but everybody has a laugh around the campfire. It's like, yeah, stupid me. I was up the tree because I was scared, but you survived. So that's what this fight or flight, our ancestors are the ones that were willing to jump up and be a fool because they're not a snack, Dennis, for the dire wolves and the saber-toothed cats. Okay. So the brave ones are gone, and we don't want to stick our head to what's in here? No, you don't stick if you're a scuba diver, you don't stick your hand in the hole in the coral reef. Is there an eel in here? Let's stick my hand in there and find out. No. And down here in the South, you do not stick your hand in the hole looking for a snake. I mean, it's just not done. And I see a lot of that mistake. Just let me stick my head in this declaration. Let me tell y'all about this. And it's just like next week, who was that last week that said this? I mean, it's just, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of a parade, Dennis, and it's expected. And there's a lot of noise. And your article filtered out the noise is up now on the site, and I've advertised it. And you have some really good advice for staying away from all that nonsense. And if you want to comment on that, I think it's worth commenting on your process, how you avoid the noise, Dennis. I don't know how you do it, but you did.
Well, I'm doing it better this year. Okay. Because last year I let the noise get to me because there's a lot of smart voices out there in the fantasy football space. Okay. But there's also a lot of guys that are just chasing last year's points, or even worse, chasing last week's news. And there are guys that I trust, like Greg Kellogg, our friend Greg, is
Hmm.
is posting such great reviews of every preseason game. He's going through all of the data. I don't know how he's sorting it, but the end result is actionable information. It's not hype. It's what happened. And that what happened in the game is worth paying attention to. Every team handles preseason different. So the fact that Jeremiah Love started and played considerable number of snaps in week 1 and other rookies didn't doesn't mean that Jeremiah Love is a bench piece and these other guys are being protected because they're starters. It just means every coach is different. But Greg is doing a great job of putting out so much actionable information because he's not giving you opinion or results of what he thinks this shows. He's just giving you, it's the old dragnet show. Here's just the facts, ma'am. And that's what he's giving you, is just the facts. Another one that I love to read every day is Jim Coventry. And Jim and I will often disagree on a player and we'll have a discussion about that in a thread. And, Jim is one of those guys who's really confident at what he does, and he should be. He's one of the smartest minds in the fantasy football world. And he's also one of the best noisemakers in the fantasy football world. He's very good as a broadcaster. There are people out there in the industry who are really good at the broadcasting side of things. That's why they're broadcasters. But when I look at their process and what they do and how they play the game and the recommendations that they give on players, it looks like clickbait stuff to me, to be honest. I'm not going to name names and embarrass anybody, but there's some big names out there who are very entertaining, but I wouldn't trust their advice. And last year, I think I got suckered by a couple of the guys that were rising stars. I didn't get suckered on JCM, the guy they call Bill. Once Bill got to a certain price, remember early in the draft season last year, he was one of our 5 running backs to target.
Right.
He got way too expensive. He was around the 7th round. That's out of that whole category. My 5 guys to target are 10th round and later guys. They're meant to be wild cards. There's
Right.
one going out in the wide receiver world, Cyrus Allen from the Chiefs. Because Mahomes said, "This kid is doing a great job. He's my favorite wide receiver to work with." He's now in the 190s as far as overall picks on FFPC. He was he was greater than 300 when the draft season started. He was the 350 guy, which means there is no ADP on him. Nobody's picking him. Now he's up to 194. That's getting dangerously to that point that he better have something that he's good at doing, because the guys that you're passing on to take him have at least some track record in the NFL, or like Omar Cooper, they were much higher draft picks than he was. It doesn't mean I'm out. I love that phrase. I'm out on this guy. I'm not even sure what that means. In my way of thinking, he's a guy that I'm not drafting no matter what the price. Those guys are rare, because there comes a point in a draft where the price gets so cheap on some players that I'll take a share of them because it's so cheap. It's just a dart throw pick, and it's depth piece for your team. If he hits, great. If he doesn't, then he's a waiver wire replacement. But he's getting a little dangerously high in where he should be right now. He's kind of the hot topic of the day. But when it comes to the noise that you need to filter out, trust the guys that your diary said are really good. And I've been keeping track of guys like Jim Coventry. They're very good at what they do. They also give explanations of why they like the player. And what is so key about that is, if I disagree with the volume that a player is going to get according to Jim, then I'm feeling okay about being on that player. If I'm in agreement on the volume and I'm on the opposite side of Jim on a player and our look at volume is different, that's when I start worrying. Am I really spotting a guy that I really want to spot? And I worry more about that at the top end of the draft than I do the later. The later you go, all I look for is upside. And if he can have a chance, I don't let the noise get me down on a guy who I'm high on, but I also don't let the noise get me too high on a guy that I don't like. I don't like Parker Washington this year. I'll say it. I think he's too expensive.
Gotcha.
But it doesn't mean that, like, he gets cheap enough. If he dropped 5 rounds from his current ADP, I might take a share. But I'm not going to let the noise of how good this guy is going to be. Our buddy, that stardom situm guy that we met at the expo,
Yep.
in every one of his, this is the best draft pick from this position in the draft, if I'm picking 5th or 10th or whatever, here's the guys who are available. Here's where I should take him. Parker Washington's been on almost every one of his lists. This guy he impressed me at the expo that he knows ball.
Right.
But I think he's wrong on Parker Washington. We'll all be wrong on some players. And I'm only saying he's wrong on Parker Washington at cost.
At
Cost, I
cost.
think.
And that's a big thing you and I
Yes.
have
Yes.
talked about, is using our secret stuff. It's geared to cost. We're we're going to have to modify, Dennis, and we're going to work on that. Is at what point is it too early, or you know, where is that range that we could say this is worth the cost? Where are we out? Where are we in? Where are we doubling in, right? Where are we like, this is so good? Sometimes, at track, you handicap and you go and say, man, this horse is going to be the favorite. And all of a sudden he's 5-1. You'd be like, what'd I miss? You start doubting your own process because nobody else, quote, sees it.
Yeah.
And that can be kind of the flip side of all this. You get scared. It's like, no, you gotta be brave on your process, Dennis. And there's some psychological side too. And that's some of what we have to fight. And I'm still trying to figure some of that out too. I've been doing that for, since the 1980s, trying to have the old, well, I must be stupid if this horse is 10-1 and I think he's 2-1. I'm the
Yeah.
goof.
Yes.
And if you bet enough of that and you're right, you can make money. I mean, that's the whole point of an overlay, right? You're getting more than you should for that play. I mean, it's like going into roulette and they'll say, well, every time you hit red, you get 2 times your money, and black will only take 1 time. Well, you'll be betting red all day long, with a reasonable bankroll. And you don't bet everything on one spin, but that's game theory. If you have a little bit of edge, you take your bankroll, divide it so low, but you just allow the law of big numbers to collect. And that's part of that process that we're still working on, folks, is that game theory side and that psychological side. And
It,
it's tough.
it,
It's
it
tough.
is, it is very tough because I do remember my first, when I developed this game plan for handicapping harness racing way back in the day. And, first time I'm legal to be at the track and using this, I came up with this, it was about 2 weeks into my experience at Arlington Park when they were running harness for a couple
Right,
of winters as an experiment.
right.
It was really tricky because it's a mile and an eighth track. Harness loves to run 1 mile races, so they were starting the race on the turn.
Yeah, that's weird.
So your number 9 horse, way outside, starting on the turn, that horse had a big handicap, and they were only winning at like a 3% clip from the 1 mile starting position. They were doing better at the 7/8 when they started on the back stretch because they had that long run to that first turn. And they were doing okay when it was a mile and an eighth race because they had an eighth of a mile longer to finish at the end. So the start wasn't as important. But I handicapped this horse Adasoy starting from the 9th position. Everything added up. Driver changed to a hot driver, improving 4-year-old in a weaker class of horses where improvement really matters and all this stuff. He was my top rated horse. He was 90-1.
Yeah.
And the psychology was, I can't bet this horse to win. The consensus says he's 90-1. I can't. And my dad looked at me and said, if you're smart and you're a horse player and you like a horse, you will play him to win. If you'd play him to show, you're playing him to win.
Yes.
And you will collect more doing it that way, bet 2 across the board. If he hits the board, you're going to make money. That's it. If he wins, you're going to win a lot of money for a very small investment. So
Yeah.
much better to do 2, 2, and 2 than 6 to show. And I did it. Listened to my dad. Boom. He won. Now he did come down in odds from 90-1,
Yeah.
but he still paid over $100 to win.
Yeah.
And from that point on, I realized in any forecasting situation, if you like a long shot, bet on it. That's our strategy That's the adapt or die principle that I talk about in my
And
Better
your
Than Zero.
articles. Yeah, those are
Yes,
good articles too.
thank
Adapt or
you.
die.
Yeah, and the idea is you've got to not follow the crowd in a draft. You have to be always on the look for the value. And you understand though that just like betting Atasoy at 90 to 1 across the board, betting on a guy like Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen and Devon
Desmond
Claiborne.
Claiborne. Huh?
Yeah, my three of my hottest late rookie RB ads. If I hit on all three of those, first of all, win so much money this year, it'll be amazing. But I may not live to enjoy that money because I probably have a heart attack from
Ugh.
excitement. It's you bet on three long shots. Those are 30 to 1 shots, folks, of being like a top 12 guy in fantasy football. They're not going to hit, but they might hit late or at least for 4 weeks of the season if everything goes right. Just like a horse, sometimes those 30 to 40 to 1 shots, the reason they win is because he had Calvin Rail coming up the inside, saving all the ground in the world
Yep.
and paying off. It took luck to get him into the finish, to get him over the finish line first. And sometimes they win just by a nose. But if we hit on one of those three, it improves our chances of winning the league
Yes, it does.
immeasurably. I'm not even sure what the math says.
Yeah.
I just know that it does. It's going to improve our chance of winning. But that's the key, professors. You
Yeah.
take chances late, and and don't follow the crowd. Like be an original. You're going to be right. You're going to be wrong on picks.
Yeah.
And here's the news flash: the person who's playing fantasy football for the first year, but knows football a little bit, is going to be right and wrong on some of his picks. And so is the person who's been playing for 35 years and is on Sirius XM every day, getting paid to talk about fantasy football. They're going to make mistakes too. Hopefully, they make fewer mistakes,
Yeah.
but they're going to make mistakes too. Don't let yourself get too high or too low. It's the process. It's the game plan that helps you win or lose. It's not being right about more players necessarily. Yeah, you got to be right about enough of the guys, but you only have to be better than ADP. I like Stribling. This Devon Stribling. You know, I jokingly said he's the next Nakua. Well, that was, of course, done because they're both from Hawaii. And they're both later draft picks, although Stribling was a top of the second round NFL pick and Nakua was a bit later. The reason I compared them, though, was opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
You got a big, fast guy who appears to have good hands, and he's got opportunity. That I love that in fantasy. It's the who is that guy? Marquise Colston
Yeah.
for your Saints years ago.
Oh, yeah.
The first year he came out, and it was even better because he was tight end eligible in some leagues.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. His first few seasons, he was pure gold. It was big receiver, good hands, opportunity. That's been a strategy of mine for a very long time. But Professor, I think one of the better ways to show people how to play that better than zero concept is to show them some of our drafts
Yeah.
because we got
That's
plenty
true.
going on.
Before we do that, Dennis, I just wanted to kind of talk about the process and let
Yes.
people know that this season we're going to be doing a lot of behind the scenes testing.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if I get time, I'm going to test this new, what I call game script predictive index, GSPI. And I put out an article, preseason one report, and I made some predictions. I worked with AI Grok, and we went back and forth about using statistical ways to modify this approach. It's a mathematical algorithmic approach, and part of that is historical testing, is weighting the different components, and so this is all that put in. And I stopped at a certain point. There is this tendency you can keep going down the rabbit hole forever, right? You
Yes.
can keep doing your process and you never get a chance to use it. So part of it is knowing, and that's just being a biologist. At some point you got to go out in the field and figure it out. I mean, you can predict how many squirrels per pine tree should be there, but you got to go out somehow. Somebody, you send your graduate student, because it's too damn hot out here in Arkansas. That's what you send your graduate students out, and they count how many squirrels per pine tree. So you do a transect, Dennis. I don't know if you, I bet your agriculture people do that, but you do some type of modification where you go straight for a certain distance and so many feet on either side of that magical line. You call that a sampling zone.
Yep.
So you walk through a forest and you stop and say how many pine trees, say every 10 feet. And then you look up the pine trees and count the squirrels in the squirrel nest. And then you run through that, a few of those transects through an area, then you get squirrels per tree metric,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
then, okay, this over here, now let me go over here at this other area. You try to verify and test. So I'm having an article about verification as well. That's part of the science process. It's not just inventing this and stopping, Dennis. It's
No.
testing. So this article here that I'm going to craft and let Grok and I talk about, I said, Grok, here's the week one preseason. I mean, it's preseason for goodness sake. And I made some projections with this index and I put it out there for volume, for running, passing, and player props. And I said, what are we doing here? What's going on? And so Grok went through, tested the results and how the script, the index played out, and there's all that situation, and it showed me my successes. It showed me my failures and noise, and the bottom line uh, here. And then I had went a little deeper, and I think at this point there's somehow there was a chart. Notice I keep talking. So everybody loves a chart, man. So here's the team, the
Oh, yeah.
projected script for winning, the rushing attempts, the rushing yards, and the outcome. So it's a strong hit for what I predicted. What I did, it's the index. The Bills were a hit. The Bengals game, mild hit. Seattle, I missed. Strong hit was Falcons. Partial miss, the Lions. Miss, high rush, and then miss the Commodores. And so the accuracy was about 60 to 70% directional success. I felt for first week preseason, that wasn't too bad. So I'm going to try to run this, and Dennis and I are going to try to use elements of this in our matchups and our game discussion, which is involved in waiver wires, which is involved in start sets. We're going to keep working on that. But Dennis, I'm going to try to, at least in the background, if I don't get to publish it. I don't know how busy I'm going to be because I got a lot of reports I can get out. Uh, But anyway, I'm going to have a season to test it, folks. So that's part of the process is testing what we say. Okay. So a lot of, legacy sites, a lot of flapping of chops, but do they test? And
Yeah.
so I'm going to talk about that a little bit, my salty article that I'll come out. But, first week, directional accuracy on the highest conviction calls and allowed users toward the depth volume opportunities here. And so, again, if you use this for betting, and this is for entertainment purposes only, but if people try to use this, you may have had some success, Dennis. I don't know. I haven't bet yet. I've got to set up my sports book bankroll for the year, probably $100, and $2 bets. That's me. And you're saying, well, if you're so smart, how come you? Because I got years of testing, folks. It's not okay. Here's my mortgage. Let me bet on this bet. I mean, that's just not game theory. Okay, you stretch out. If you have a positive expectation, a lot of times it's probably very low, Dennis. I guarantee you, if it's 40% advantage over the game, you need to relook at your data because Vegas is not. If Vegas could be beat by 40%,
Oh,
everybody be in Vegas right now.
yep.
Mining the fools, and Caesar's Palace is not a fool. It's still there. So a lot of times you're talking 2 or 3% advantage, maybe 10. That would be amazing kind of advantage, right? So even in counting cards in blackjack, it's 5, 6, 10% on
6%. Yep.
occasion, and they try to get rid of you if they think you're counting cards. Poker or horse racing, you actually can apply some advantages and whatnot. So anyway, I just want to let you know I'm going to try to get some testing done this year, and we'll see where it goes. And again, Dennis and I will be testing the MVP. We've tested before. We know a lot of things about it.
Yep.
We're going to be looking at some of the other metrics we invented this year that you hadn't even heard about, secret stuff. And we're going to continue that in the background, folks. And you're saying, well, why didn't you publish it? Well, not getting paid, Dennis. Nobody's paying me to do it, and I don't have time. And I'm going to be playing about 50 leagues this year. My time is going to be limited. I need to make my money first, unfortunately, for you guys. So I don't get paid to, smarten everybody up. I got to pay myself first. And Dennis has got vacations to go for either the Paris, Texas or Paris, France. Depends on where he's going to take his wife this year and his bankroll. So we got business to do, but on the side, we'd love to teach people about the scientific method. So that's just my diatribe here, Dennis.
Yeah. And here's the thing about betting, folks, that you really need to understand is this should be for entertainment. It's not because you think you're going to get rich. I have seen too many people ruin their lives by not understanding their limits at the horse race track. Even when I was really good at harness race handicapping, and I had 2 years, well, 2 semesters of junior college that I was able to pay back in the day
Yeah.
based on my race winnings. So I was really good, but also understood where my limits were because I made a $50 show bet one time as part of a parlay. I won the bet, Professor. I hated the race. I was like in pain watching this horse race.
In
And I
pain.
realized that even if it's house money,
Yeah.
it was my money. It came into my pocket. It
Yeah,
started as
people
a
forget
$5.
that.
Yeah, it
Once
started as
it's
a
in your
five.
pocket, it's your money. It's not the house money.
Oh yeah, no, no. It started as a $5 parlay. So you're saying, oh, the worst case, you're out $5. Hell no, I was going to be out 50. Like, that's my money at that point. I made 45 on my money. I'd like to keep it. But it's no different than my dad. When he hit a big daily double or a big exacta in the first few races, he'd collect the money, he'd take a good portion of it, he'd hand it to me and say, put it in your pocket. That's coming home with us. And I was not allowed to give him back any money.
Yeah.
He wanted to go home with winnings. And it's just understanding. So when the professor says a $2 wager, that doesn't mean that he's only $2 of confidence. It
No,
just
no.
means this is his fun money account. And I will tell you, folks, that the professor is a really good horse race handicapper. He's got a great system for playing superfectas. He will make money on doing that when he takes the time to be serious about handicapping a race. But he will bet the minimum on those
Yeah.
superfectas.
If I can, I
And
will.
it's
Yeah. 10
yeah, it's
cents.
just
Yeah.
it's enjoyable when you win and there's no risk when you lose. Like that $2 or $4 that went into the pool for that particular race, if you lose it, it's not gonna affect your life one bit. That's the same way you have to do with your sports gambling. It's the same way you have to do with your fantasy football. It's money you can afford to lose. If you're playing with money you can't afford to lose, you're an idiot. But let's take a look at some of the drafts that are going on right now, because that's the
Yeah.
best way to show you
Yeah.
how we make decisions.
Let me pull it up, Dennis. I was sitting there, I was getting rid of my Excel spreadsheets that I had to try to help my memory resources. When I hit the big money, Dennis, I'm gonna get a fancy computer, but I don't have that now. So Dennis, this is got 29 plus a superfecta uh, tournament entry. We'll have three of those. You and I, the River Valley Crawfish, live another year. And so I've got about 30 drafts plus a couple in sleeper here that I'm working on. So Dennis, I'm pretty busy here. Okay. So here's what we can do, Dennis. I have some that are on the clock in the 11th, 12th, 15th, 10, 11. That seems to be pretty common. I have one in the third and one in the first. So we probably want to kind of spread out the deep, the little bit more toward the mid and the early, maybe. You
Yeah,
want to start with my
let's do
first?
first, third, and 10th. That would be a
Yeah.
good way
Yeah.
to do
So
this.
this is enter the draft room. Let's see if I'm on the clock here. Oh, yeah. So, see, now I'm on the clock. Okay, so the first thing I do is just take a quick look, see if anything crazy has happened, and I see
Chalk.
nothing crazy has
Now,
happened at all.
McCaffrey at 4 is a little early, maybe.
Yeah, well, people, yeah, but it's nothing. I saw
Not
McCaffrey at 9
not
the other day.
outlandish. Not outlandish. I
I
like
saw him at 9. I'm like, that would have been very interesting if he would have been that late. But anyway, 4, I'm not crazy about. So right now, uh, I see some wide receivers. I see a tight end that I'm interested in. The running backs, the question I have to decide, because you see, I'm here 1-5. It's going to be a long time before I get another bite here. So right away, Dennis, the big question is at 1-5, do I try to push this RB concept? A lot of people love RBs in the first round. and there's people taking wide receivers. We're tight end premium. So Brock Bowers is out there. So there's like three different journeys here that I think. So I'm kind of thinking about that a little bit. Uh, my thinking is Sun God, Nakua, or JSN. I've got to decide this safety, this upside, this injury, this is somebody in trouble for off season. There's some issues here with Puka. There's I think the NFL's still looking at things, and so this is Puka at cost, assuming plays most of the games, right? So if he if some of his antics cost him two or three, that's not good. I don't want to draft somebody that's only going to give me 14 games here first round. That scares me a little bit, Dennis.
Yeah,
So
it scares me too, especially since he's got a weird injury to his groin area.
yes,
It's like, does that get to be something
yeah,
that is persistent as well?
yeah. So I have concerns there at 4. So I'm kind of playing it safe early rounds. This is the Dennis adapt or die better than zero. So I find myself thinking about wide receivers here and which one. I mean, to me, Detroit is really strong, but uh, it's the debate. JSN, who I think there's more competition for the Sun God than there is JSN, at least in my head right now. So I've been taking in a lot of my leagues JSN over St. Brown at this point when I had a choice. Obviously, if he wasn't there, if he was gone, Dennis, I'd probably take St. Brown. Since he's here, I'm leaning JSN. The only other person that I would really consider would be James Cook. Our numbers really like him
Oh yeah,
over
they do.
Gente. So my question is, do I want to go? If I go James Cook, and I think way down in here, I kind of look for the most part, folks. What I have noticed is a lot of times this trickles down early about what you think. So I'm kind of looking about 10, 15 picks down to kind of see who I might be able to pick. So if I pick JSN, I could get, and I have been getting Henry and maybe A Shane, maybe. Okay. So I'm just in my head, who am I picking? Sometimes McBride has fallen, but I doubt it. So that's my debate is Cook versus JSN, Dennis. I'm going to stop and let you give me your advice.
So here is a situation. Yeah, I like Cook. He's my third rated running back right now. And when I say third rated, that doesn't mean I've got him at the third highest MVP score. What I've got him as this is first round. I do not like in the first round to mess with any uncertainty if I can avoid it
Right.
if I'm in the first 6 picks, because the first 6 picks are gold. Like even the first 7 picks should be gold this year. Puka, the injury and the suspension combined makes me a little concerned. If I only had Puka in a tier of his own, I wouldn't let that noise get in the way of selecting him because he's only going to miss 1 or 2 games max. I don't see him missing more than that for what he's done. So but the combination of that and the injury, what if you lose a game early and then he gets suspended, and
Yeah.
you lose a couple more games. That's the concern with Puka right now. So that narrows it down for me to JSN, Sun God, and you're right. Cook is the next best running back that's available. And even if CMC was on the board, because of our research on what happens after you've had a 400 plus touch season the
Yep.
year before, the decline is real, folks. The threat of a decline is real. Cook has not hit that volume. Plus, Cook, it sounds like they want to use him in the passing game more. And now Ty Johnson has got a gimpy little injury. Nothing major, but if that lingers, it opens that door for Cook to do more as well. So he's my third safest running back behind the obvious two. Everybody's on Bijan and on Gibbs in whichever order. I tend to like Bijan a little bit more, but I'll take Gibbs as well. And we just did take Gibbs in a best ball tournament.
Yeah, we did.
So my thinking, it's JSN, Sun God, or Cook. I have JSN and Sun God ahead by almost 20 points in MVP over Cook. So as much as I love starting with the running back, those two super premium wide receivers still being on the board intrigue me. So I would narrow down to those two. Here's one little wrinkle that I want you to consider. Which quarterback would you rather double up with later in a draft? Would it
Darnold is
be
later than
would it be
Goff.
Darnold or Goff? Darnold is even later than Goff. But
Yeah.
which quarterback would you rather have as your QB2? And possibly, if the matchups are right, try to double up with for the playoffs if you want to play a stack.
If stacking is the priority, then it would be Sun God.
Yes. And in best ball, I would do that. I love stacking more in best ball than I do in a set lineup situation for obvious reasons. If I stack the heck out of something in best ball and that stack doesn't work, I've got a backup plan. If I stack in redraft and it doesn't work, my lineup is really going to be lean that week. So I don't like to stack as much in redraft, but I do sometimes like to set that up for the playoffs. Detroit doesn't have an awful playoff schedule this year. So I would consider it, but boy, it's hard for me to pass on JSN at pick number 5, and
And so
I'll
again,
let running back come back to me.
if we pick JSN, then maybe we get A Shane, maybe we get Henry. In other words, do I want to go to WRs? I have not done that, but if I did do that, it would, if I wanted that, I would probably be looking at Neighbors or Pickens is what I've been stacking up if I didn't. But it's probably hard not to be balanced here. But if I take Cook, then the WRs that I'm looking at are Brown, Drake London, Collins, Rasheed Rice, Neighbors. So I could do Cook and Neighbors concept. That so I'm back to me, JSN and taking Henry A. Shane, hoping one of those survives, or Cook and taking a Neighbors type. Uh, that's what I've been bouncing back and forth uh, between the two. So I try to then think about our metrics a little bit. I like JSN a little bit more for safety, but I'm really concerned about Henry if that's one of my choices, I would hope A Shane. If A Shane's gone, then Henry's, I feel like that weakens me a little bit, but I like Cook. So to me, the home run, if I got Cook and I got Neighbors, then if I could pull that off, that really seems stronger than JSN and Henry. So let's talk about that then. To me, that's what I'm debating actually at this point.
Yeah, and that's
So I'm trying to think what's you see, not just the first round without thinking about the second round a little bit.
no, and that makes perfect sense to do, but I will add a counterpoint. If I
That's
open
fine. That's
if I
what I
open
want you to do.
with wide receiver,
I've done
so
that.
I open JSN and then I come back with maybe AJ Brown,
Okay.
my or with the neighbors. Okay.
Mhm.
Uh, neighbors a few weeks ago was going a little bit later than he is now. He's moving up the board pretty fast. But if I go wide receiver,
Mhm.
I'm still okay because I got guys like Kyron Williams in the third. I've got guys like Scatabo in the fourth.
Mhm.
I've got guys like Swift or Montgomery in the fifth.
Mhm.
I've got Bucky in the fifth. So I might even be able to tap early on Montgomery in the fourth and then come back with either Swift or Bucky. So that gives me what I'm getting at is even if I go running wide receiver, I've got a route to adding three really strong running backs in a row from 3 to 5. And I'll start the draft with maybe two top 10 wide receivers.
Mhm.
Well, definitely top 10 and maybe top 5 if AJ
Right.
Brown hits. Super good. So that opens me up. Or, like you say, A Shane might fall, or Ken Walker
Yeah.
might
So
fall, or Henry
JSN and
might
A
fall.
Shane or Cook and Neighbors to me is my optimal. I'm going to go JSN, Dennis. Uh,
I think that's the safe route.
yes, and then
It,
hope
yeah.
that A Shane. But if A Shane's gone, then I'm back to do I go Henry or Neighbors?
Or
That
McBride.
kind of thing. I know
Or
you're
McBride could land too.
I'm stronger on Neighbors than I am on Brown right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. And that's perfectly fair. The only thing I'm concerned about with Neighbors is the injury. And
Mhm.
the fact that the data that we have on Neighbors
Mhm.
was in a different offense than he'll be in this year.
Yeah.
And I don't know what a Harbaugh Nagy led offense is going to look like
Yeah.
with the Giants. I'm not sure it's better than what he has posted the data in. It's either same or it could be less. I'm a little concerned about that with Neighbors again, only because he's also not 100% healthy. And that's why I like to get my wide receivers early if I can. If I can get JSN or Sun God in the first round, I'm pretty happy with that move.
Well, I went JSN and let's move on.
Let's
Uh
go to our next draft.
Yeah, so let's see the league here. Let's see where am I at on my teams. Let's see. Let's just curiosity, Dennis. I don't know if it's going to show me. Yeah, it may be too early. Let's look at wide receivers. And my number one, Dennis, right now is Tank Dell. I like him
Wow.
late.
Yes. Yep.
I
I
got
don't
some,
mind that pick.
yeah, I got here's some of the ones.
Good Olave. I like the Olave.
Yeah,
Like
Wilson,
the
Higgins,
Ekuka.
Ibuke, Quentin
Love
Johnson
Debo late.
late,
You're getting Debo late
Debo.
at 40. Yep.
Yeah. So
That's
there's
that's what I like about that ownership percentage.
mhm,
It's not too top heavy on anybody.
No,
which
it's spread.
it's spread, but it's like premium spread. Like you're getting some really good guys in that 40% range
Dennis,
that are,
look at my WRs. Looks like Dennis's
oh yeah,
want list here.
that's the hit
With
list.
Henry,
Yep.
just to let you know, if I do take him, I'm trying to get Randall
Oh, perfect.
late.
Yes. Yes. Good pick.
But
Good idea.
getting with Cook, I'm squirreling Davis.
Yep, that's a good
Love your
play.
Desmond, love your, and Harvey has just been good, but then I'm taking Coleman to
Coleman.
back him
Yep.
up.
That's
So
perfect
folks
strategy.
notice that I'm pairing up some of the later RBs with their, third best. In other words, I'm not killing myself to get Dobbins, but I'm loving the Coleman concept. So,
Yeah, I love that strategy for Denver is getting 2/3 of
yeah,
the pie, and
yeah,
Harvey has been the one that has dropped
yeah.
to be affordable.
And my
Uh,
number one quarterback so far is Drake May.
I
Then I
love that.
got 2 shares of Goff, and then
Love it.
spread out here with some of these guys.
Absolutely love that that spread of guys
Yeah.
again, because you've got your T Law and May
Mm-hmm.
and Golf, I think, are three of the safest plays with lots of upside
Yeah.
for different reasons, and
And
they go good
our
together
our
too.
data loves Sadig as my tight
Yes.
end two that comes on later. So I've been getting him pretty much free late.
Yep. Love that. I
Yeah,
love that
I
idea.
got him at 134, somewhere between 100, but 134 is, so that's the range. So I'm putting a lot of eggs in that basket for the playoffs. I'm hoping
So
he'll be a streamer type that will help me later. But I've got two
so
McBrides, some
so in
Kraft.
one of my leagues, Professor, I had Andrews and TJ Hawkinson.
Right.
So I came back and grabbed Sadiq as a third tight
Hmm.
end as a security blanket.
Yeah. So
And
I just want
those,
to
I mean,
report where I'm
that's I
at,
like
Dennis,
that.
for
I
us.
like that. I
Yeah.
like that exposure.
Yeah. So looks like I've got another number one here. You want to do that?
Yeah, let's look at that one.
This may be later because I tend to get, guess what I get to do before I do anything here today? I got to finish up these drafts here. That's why I do 6 hours, folks. I'm not deliberately being mean, but I got business to do. So here we go, a different scenario, Dennis. Look at somebody took Chase at
Yeah.
109.
And
That's
I can understand that's
I
aggressive, but I get it. I
look
get
at
it.
JSN dropping here
Yep.
to 7. I took him
Yeah.
at 5.
Behind the sun god. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting here.
That is an interesting start.
Yeah, so now my first thing is, do I want Bowers or Cook? That to me is a very clear discussion point here, Dennis. Is there, and remember, I'm going to get another bite in about 4 or 5
Very quick.
picks. So you're looking that if I got Bowers, I could get A Shane most likely.
Or
If I got
Hampton.
Bowers, I could definitely stretch and get Neighbors. But if I get Cook, I could get A Shane, or
Or
that kind of thing. Or
Hampton.
I could get
Or
Cook and
or you could get
McBride.
McBride. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
So
is
I'm probably
oh,
leaning Cook and hoping I can get McBride or A Shane, is kind of my home run. I've been liking this. I'm not happy that I keep getting stuck close to the turn, but that's just the way it's been.
yeah, I love that strategy of grabbing Cook.
Yeah.
I would go Cook, A Shane, or Cook, Hampton in a heartbeat.
Well,
I
see,
really
I might get McBride and Cook.
or McBride. That is such a great setup because you're only talking two teams between you and
Yeah.
it's four
I
picks, but
figured
it's two
some of
teams.
these guys, Dennis, it wouldn't surprise me McBride's gone. I think one of these cats is going to grab Bowers. This guy's probably going to get McBride in one of these. So I
And
bet A
Giante's going to
Shane's
be
going to
gone.
drop to
Yep.
me.
Yeah, I think you're
I
right.
have a feeling that's what I'm doing here. So I'm
I think
grabbing Cook.
Yeah, I think Hampton's going to fall to you as well if you want
Could
him.
be, could
You got
be.
you're going to have great options to go running back,
I
running
think
back.
you see, I'm not as worried about my second option because I get a quick
No,
bite and I don't have to. I think I'm gonna get some goodies regardless of quite how it all goes. I don't think they're gonna let Bowers drop anymore. I bet
no,
this
no,
111
no.
guy, if he doesn't, the 112 is gonna grab
It,
Bowers. If
yeah,
this guy takes Genty or Jefferson or one of those. One of these guys for sure is going to get Bowers, and I think McBride could be chewed as well. So it
yeah,
won't
that
surprise me.
yeah, it's a possibility because I could see one going Giante
Yeah,
and then
and
the other going Bowers,
yeah,
or I could see somebody going Jefferson and then the guy at the 12, 112 2
could get a
1
McBride or something.
tapping Bowers and Giante, going
Yeah,
two Raiders right
I
there.
could
I've
see
seen that
that.
happen.
Yeah,
But I think you're in good shape. I would take Cook.
yeah,
I think
that's what I did.
he's one of my favorites right there. I have had Hampton moving up, but Cook still ahead of Hampton. That's a
Yeah.
great start. I don't mind starting late this year because it is opening lots of options. The only problem is you want to be happy after that second because it's a long time till your third.
Yeah, you better be. You better have. I want home runs first and second. I really
Yeah.
do.
Let's look at
Do
the
you want to
third
try
round
the
one.
third guy?
Yeah, that's always an interesting. Third is that for me this year, Professor, what I'm finding is third through sixth are the most important rounds for me this season.
Well, let's see who I've squirreled away. Dennis, I did A Shane and Sun God.
Love that
So I
start.
think JSC, yeah, I had 109. Look, Dennis, and Sun God had dropped to 109. That I probably could have got, I don't know if I could have got Cook, but to me, Sun
I
God, I
Yeah.
had to bite because, as you say, once I have Sun God, then it's golf as my QB too.
Yeah,
I'm
it's it
going to target him.
whether
Maybe
you
a May Sun God or a Lawrence golf
yeah,
thing.
whether whether you play the stack or not, it's
Yeah,
nice to have that option. It's why I like to add Shuck as my second quarterback with Olave.
yeah.
It's why I like to add if I've got Kelsey or Rice, I'll take the cheap Mahomes.
I mean, look, people went
Yeah,
Puka 7, so they're getting a little worried about him.
they're getting crazy.
Jonte
Yeah.
over Sun God. I couldn't have done that.
No,
So
no.
anyway, it was a gift to me. I took him over Taylor and Cook. I mean,
Yeah, I
remember
like
I
that
was
move.
saying I like Cook, but JSN. But I could turn Sun God. To me, that seemed like a nice little treat because I really envisioned A Shane dropping to me, and he did.
Yeah,
So I was so
that's a great start.
pleased.
Yeah, here's the thing with A Shane. My
Even
only
though they're the
concern,
same bye week, folks,
yeah, well, I don't care about that.
yeah,
The only concern I have for A Shane this year is if he gets a minor injury, say week
I shut
12,
him down
and
late.
they're
Yeah,
1-12 or 1-11 at the time.
yeah.
And they shut him down. But that's where our strategy of having lots of backups.
Oh
The
yeah.
first
Well, you
the first
saw.
yeah, the first
Yeah.
3 quarters of the fantasy football season, the worst case for A Shane.
Mhm.
Okay. I don't care if that Miami defense or that Miami offense is lousy. I don't care if Malik Willis is awful. A-Shane's going to get fed. So the worst case with A-Shane, RB10. Absolute worst case of A-Shane is RB10. And hey, that's where you got him. You got him at his floor.
Right.
So if I can get players at their floor, I'm happy with that because
So,
I think you got floor right there.
yeah. So now the choice to me, Dennis, I have been looking at Allen. So I just debate in my head, given the start, I feel like it's strong and I feel like I don't need Allen. But I'm just saying I do consider it. So I think I'm probably going to drop Allen and move towards like targeting May in the seventh, maybe in the sixth. I was thinking May, not in the fourth, probably not in the fifth. The sixth, the seventh, I get interested in Drake May.
So you were a pick away from having a slam dunk pick here because if
Oh
Kyron
yeah, Kern
Williams had
Williams.
been
Yes,
if
I
he had been
saw it.
on the board, that's my third round pick. If Olave's on the board, he's my third round pick. If Neighbors is on the board, that's
Yep,
my automatic third. Those three guys
yep. I saw
trigger
that.
automatic picks. But they went right before
I
you
know.
got a chance at that bite. You're in a great situation because you are well balanced.
Yeah,
You're perfectly balanced with two guys that have the upside of being the top guy at their position.
yeah.
That's a
So
beautiful start
yeah, I
because
have a lot of choices here. So my my pick, I'm going to get a bite in about seven more
yeah,
picks. So,
you're going to get two nice picks because here's what
so
you're going to get coming back to you
mhm.
is you're going to have lots of good options coming
I
back to you.
mean, could have ETN, which
Wilson might be there.
yeah, Waddle,
ETN might be
Higgins
there.
could drop. I don't Wilson. That'd be a gift. Swift
Monty
is
will be there.
there.
Swift and Monty will be there.
Yeah, so I'm intrigued by my next pick, but this pick, first name that jumps to me is a bouquet. We need to talk about uh, probably McConkey and Jacobs and Scatterbo and Wilson. I have four things to think about here, Dennis, maybe
Yeah,
five.
and Wilson, Higgins, Waddle, ATN, those are guys that might come back to you in the
So
next
yeah,
pick. Josh
so
Jacobs will come back to you because there's the rumor about his concern. There's a concern over suspension for him as well.
yeah,
Um, this pick I think is pretty easy, and I'll tell you why.
okay,
You already got Sun God that is the most reliable wide receiver.
right,
So if Egbuka
yeah,
either doesn't live up to his billing,
all right,
or if his toe injury uh, drags him down a little bit, that you're still protected because you're looking for a second wide receiver.
yeah.
You're not looking for a first one. So your third pick at wide receiver will protect your Egbuka share here, and he'd be a slam dunk for me.
Yeah,
In
and that's the first
easy.
one that jumps to me. Like I
Yep.
said, the only other one, Allen, do I take a quarterback? Because, he's safety or a Buka to do exactly what you did. Uh,
Yeah, and I don't dislike Josh Allen this year, but
yeah, no,
he did have a couple of weeks where you were not happy with him.
yeah,
And here's the other little twist.
yeah,
I don't like cold weather quarterbacks that play outside
yeah,
for the fantasy playoffs. So Josh Allen is so darn good, even in bad weather, that
yeah,
it's impossible to bench him. If he's on your
right.
team, you're starting him. But that's why Gabuka, I think, was the easy pick there.
Yeah, and I grabbed him, Dennis. So
Let's
let's
get
just
one
do the
more
10th.
in the 10th. Yeah, because 10th is where
Are we
you,
having fun or what? This is
oh, we're
fun. We
having
should
great
have did
fun.
this last year a little bit. This is fun. I know, but you know, you getting to hear us and how we approach what you're not seeing is the fact that I have done so many drafts. I kind of know where our metrics are
Yes.
falling.
Yes.
A lot
Yes.
of these decisions you hear Dennis and I, it's not the first time we've debated a lot of this, the same situations or something close. The advantage of doing 50 leagues, it's like, yeah, I've gone down these, logic trails, these decision trees, which Dennis, you probably should. I always liked your views of decision trees.
Yes.
For process, you might think about that before the season starts, is to circle back and tie in decision to your adaptive and your better than zero. I think to expand that and put a process article out, I would be, I think that people would like that, because what they're not hearing is you and I have gone down these decision trees on text
And
and
yeah.
individually and together. So what you might take is, oh, this is the first time these guys have had this decision. No,
Oh,
we've
no,
been thinking about this for quite some time.
we we both are the unusual fantasy football player in that we have built up incredible trust for each other's
Hmm.
decision making ability
Hmm.
that we will reach out
Hmm.
on drafts regularly. If I've got a decision that I'm wishy-washy about in my own mind,
Yeah.
that's when I bring the professor in for sure.
Yeah.
Because and I'll ask during the week about different players,
Yeah.
because it's a complicated process, and sometimes having that tiebreaker vote
Hmm.
really helps. But you're right. I should probably try to explain
And
my
again, if
decision
you don't
tree
have time
concept.
this year, Dennis, we're running out of time. We need another month or two of
But that's
research
a good
time. Yeah.
that's a good idea for a follow-up to the process,
But to
because
me, you've done this adapt or die, the better than zero, and now the decision tree kind of, to me, I think it would tie it together in your process, because you do that. You and I, when you will text me, a lot of times my question back to you, because that's how you don't just say my opinion is this. I
no.
like to question Dennis, and I'll say, based on how you're seeing your team, do you need, sure, a more of a sure thing or more of an upside risk? I try to find out what Dennis is kind of juggling with, because sometimes you don't think it like that. But to me, the safe or the more upside changes depending on where you're at in the draft, depending on your adaptive strategy. What you have in your roster depends on, do I need more upside? Do I need more safety? And that's what I like to ask Dennis. And then a lot of times we chew on that. And then we will go down those trees, those decisions, and then we'll come back and chew it a little more even. And
Yeah,
that's
and,
how I
and
like to do those kind of decisions that are close.
yes, and sometimes, and here's the deal, folks. When you spread your bankroll over a lot of different leagues,
Yes.
you can afford to have that team where you're like, okay, I've started a little riskier in rounds 2 and 3 than I usually like to be. The
Hmm.
hell with it. I'm going upside. I'm playing heavy upside. I'm a risk reward team, because it's one for me, it's one of 20 for you, maybe one of 50.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. It's if you have one flailing league, it's not a big deal. The ones that get really interesting this time of the year, with preseason games going, and it'll get worse here in another couple of weeks when the regulars are playing more often.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. I could be 10 rounds into a draft, and all of a sudden I got two guys in the first 9 rounds who have already been hurt. Now I might have to face the 10th round in a different way than I would if everybody is healthy. You sometimes have the risk tolerance change during a draft
Yes.
because of unforeseen circumstances. And that you have to factor in. But as you've heard already, folks, I'm not saying, we're not looking, oh, we're in the third round and we're thinking only for the fourth. I'm thinking fourth, fifth, sixth. What do I have coming up? That's how, when I set out my cheat sheet, I've got my guys that I've got highlighted that, hey, this is a guy I want to target. Doesn't mean I'm going to change everything to have him on my team. It just means, hey, that's a guy I'm curious about. If he's available, that's a decision to make. And when we get to the 10th round, it gets fun because your team has a real identity by now. And now 10th round and later is where you protect some of your investments
Yeah.
by picking those key guys that go with it together. It's no different than, hey, I love tomatoes, but they don't belong on an ice cream sandwich. If
Yeah.
I've got if
Yeah.
I've got an ice cream sandwich or
Yeah.
ice cream sundae type lineup here, I'm going to pick a topping that goes with it.
Yeah.
And so the first thing I need to do is I need to understand your team. So explain to me where you think your team is here after 9 rounds.
Okay. So I got JSN at 5, no surprise. Then I came
Perfect.
back and it's the old, okay, A Shane was gone. So I took Henry.
Love it.
I felt like that was okay. And then I got Pickens. And
Pickens in
then
the
look who
third
was
is
still
value.
around at 4-8. Josh Allen, a round later than I would have predicted. I
Yeah.
felt like given Henry, given the Pickens, maybe he's not what I think he is. I think he could pass Lamb. That's in my head that our
I think
metrics are
it's possible.
putting him right there.
I think it's possible. Yeah.
So Allen is a pick to ensure that weekly stability with Henry and Pickens. JSN covers my WR stability, but so this is Allen is covering the Henry issue, the Travion Henderson issue, but I didn't know I was going to get him, but the Henry issue and the Pickens. So I took Allen is weird as a defense for some of the uncertainty I felt with those two. So I'll stop right there. I picked up Ferguson because he's one of my later picks. I waited a little too late, but I couldn't. I had to pick Brian Thomas. I felt like RJ Harvey is my 3 was worthy of that. I mean, again, if he doesn't work out, I'm sure some of my late round picks will compensate. If Harvey doesn't work out, then I'm hoping my Coleman that I'll grab later will give me a flex worthy RB later in the season. So I'm planning that in my head as well, Dennis. And I'm hoping Brian Thomas will shore up my flex as well. So, and Jaden Reed has that, got to have one of the 4 weeks where he goes off and grabs me 2 touchdowns. So I just, in a nutshell, try to show you how I was constructing my weakness. I was a little late and missed Kraft here, but I think Ferguson with a proper tight end 2, which maybe is now or pretty close, is what I'm looking at. And Allen means my quarterback 2 can be even later still, like a Stafford or something, more of a value guy. And looking for deep depth on running back, it seems like I got 3 here, got 4 there. So it looks back, I'm going to look at the tight ends, I'm going to look at the RBs, and I hate to turn down a good 5th WR, but that looks like my priority before looking at the board. So I'll stop and let you chew on that.
Yeah, everybody is debating Watson or Golden at wide receiver, and I think Watson's too expensive now.
Yes.
Earlier in the draft season, I liked him. He's going about 3 rounds earlier than he was
Hmm.
back in May. Golden is a dart throw crapshoot. He's either
Yep.
going to be really, really good or he's going to be nothing. Like there's no in between with Golden. Reed is the in between guy. Reed's the guy that in a good matchup,
Hmm.
I don't mind flexing him
Hmm.
because he will get
Like I
some big
said, you
play.
got to pick that 4 weeks where he delivers his goods in the flex.
Yeah, and he's not a starter for you. Okay.
No,
Your
JSN and
starters right
Pickens
now,
will
yeah.
be the sure thing.
And Brian Thomas is in one of your flexes every week,
Yes.
unless he's injured or he
Yes.
doesn't live up
So
to even
then
close. Yeah.
it's Henry and probably Henderson starting off the season, maybe Harvey, depending on the matchup. But yes, you've read that right.
Yeah, so Reed is a bye week and injury sub for
Yes.
you.
Just like
So
Harvey is.
and and by the time you need Reed,
Hmm.
either Golden has proven he's not getting the job done and gets less playing time,
Hmm.
or Watson gets hurt. Watson's had issues over his career staying healthy. So by the time you need Reed, that's an intriguing pick and one I would not say is a bad pick at all because that's nice value in the ninth round. Ferguson, I'm not crazy about the Ferguson pick because most of his good production came last year
Without Lamb.
when Lamb was out. But here's the thing. What if teams try to protect themselves a little bit on getting burned by Pickens and Lamb? Ferguson's that third guy they got to pay attention to. Not a horrible value there. I don't hate the value um, with Ferguson. A little early, maybe, than where I would find comfortable picking him, but not bad because I already know you're going to be thinking in a couple of rounds,
Sadiq, yeah.
Jawan Johnson or
Oh,
Sadiq.
yes.
You're
So
pre-
it's very possible, Dennis, because I had to go past Kraft, that I'll have three tight ends this year,
yeah,
like a
in tight end
Jawan,
premium.
and then hope AJ Barner or
Yep.
uh, Tonjes if Kittle's a little gimpy. I'm already plotting that decision down the road too.
In tight end premium scoring, folks, I don't mind that because we start two flexes.
Hmm.
So in tight end premium scoring, having that little bonus, and
Hmm.
again, you're not playing them until later in the season. So
Hmm.
you got a chance to look and see what's going to develop, and you can let that strategy come to you.
So as I look at the board, Dennis. Oh, by the way, Dennis, did you like my Allen pick at 4-8?
Oh, yeah.
Because having Henry
Yep.
and Pickens, kind of the safety issue. Because I never
Yeah.
heard people draft Allen for that reason. Usually they draft Allen in the third because he's the boss.
Yeah. When he falls to the fourth, that's when, and that's late fourth, folks. That's
Yes.
4-8. That's late fourth. When a player drops more than a full round
Mhm.
in your draft, and he's a really good player, like Josh Allen it isn't the question of what he's going to do. You know, he's a top three quarterback on a
Mhm.
bad year. You know,
Mhm. Yeah.
and with his rushing upside, there's always that relatively safe floor. Ironically, he's at his best against the better defenses as far
Hmm.
as the defense that can slow down the running game or even the passing game
Right.
because he picks it up with his legs and puts his Superman cape on when he needs to. Having him a full round later than where he's going,
Hmm.
that's time to pay attention and to
Right.
say, okay, maybe this is the time I take him. So no, I love that play. Love
Yeah.
that pick.
So as I look at the board right now, it hits me. There's Bill Samuel. I'm intrigued. Jawan Johnson. I'm intrigued. Dart. I'm thinking about it a little bit. I think it's a little early for my two, but boy, if I didn't have Allen, I'd be probably taking Dart right now if I hadn't taken any other and come back with a Mahomes or some other kind of safety. Just I was just illustrating that decision tree there.
Yep. Yep.
So right now I'm liking that. I'm probably not in on Chiggy.
No.
Uh, I like Washington Juice of tight ends back before Jaden Daniels,
Yep.
actually.
Yep.
I thought I remember they used to use their tight end. I don't know how that's going to work. Golden, I don't want because I got Reed. Lemon, I have taken a few shares, but I'm not happy with the injury. Then there's people. Hurts is hadn't been passing last year. I'm a little just he seems more tricky. And notice 109, he's dropping about a round where I think people have been grabbing him. 107, and this is 10-8. I think that's they're letting him fall. He's in fall a little bit because of his injury. There's been some statements. He's a work in progress. There's a lot of negativity with him versus early in the season. So I'm kind of probably thinking away from him. I do like Samuel. I think he could, especially if Kittle misses early or he's not 100%. I think you might get an extra week or two early that you wouldn't normally get. If Kittle was full tilt boogie, I think Samuel would not be as much intriguing to me. But the fact that he might take a couple of weeks to get in form, Dennis, I think you might slip one or two good weeks in extra than you're thinking given this draft pick. So I'm looking at him, or I'm thinking about my second tight end concept, turning around and taking Jawan Johnson. Actually, uh, and Worthy is of some interest as well. So those are my three or four picks: Samuel, Jawan, Worthy, and Dart. Or I'm considering. What you think?
So I've got three guys that I like equally well, and one of them is not Juwan Johnson. I actually think he might be available to you in the next round.
Yeah, I am picking six more picks later. Six or
Yeah, so
seven.
I like that chance of him falling. So here's the three guys, and I'm just going to show them in post position order here.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then I'll break down the plus and minus on each guy. It's Lemon, Golden, and Samuel. So Lemon, I don't care about the injury
Hmm.
because you're drafting him as your fourth, actually, yeah, your fifth wide receiver. So you're not planning on using him in the early weeks of the season.
Right.
Rookie wide receivers and second year guys who you're expecting a big improvement from, I
Right.
treat the exact same way because these are fifth wide receivers. You are not looking at them as a starter in week one.
Hmm.
You're looking at what could they turn into. And I'm telling you, in the second half of the season, it will not surprise me one bit if Lemon is the most productive wide receiver on that team. And you know how I feel about Devonta Smith. Love
Yes.
the Slim Reaper. Lemon has a little bit of that Amon Ross St. Brown can find the open space kind of thing. He doesn't have to be a big hitter. He can be that great PPR guy, target hog. Hertz hasn't had that type of wide receiver. He's had a good 50-50 ball guy along the edges like A.J. Brown, and he's had the Slim Reaper who can take the top off of a defense any single play. And Hurts is really good at doing that. Lemon's the kind of guy that can just kind of be all over the place and be that shorter passing option that Hurts might find attractive, because remember, Hurts has always fed his tight ends pretty well as well. So the problem here is another new offensive coordinator. You got 21 that changed this year. But I think this is a positive change for Hurts and for that offense. So I like Lemon a lot. Golden, you said, I don't want to take him because I already took Reed. Okay. I'm going to show you the counterpoint of that.
Okay.
One of the wide receivers for Green Bay could turn out to be the dominant wide receiver.
Right.
They could also spread it out between those three.
Right.
I don't mind having two chances of getting the hot wide receiver when I didn't have to pay top 3 wide receiver. He's not my top 3 wide receiver on the team. Yep. So that gives you more flexibility. In other words, if you pick one of those 3 as your top 3 guy, you're right to not add another Green Bay guy, because I'm thinking my top 3 wide receivers better be in the starting lineup every single week. I'm not sure which one of those Green Bay guys is going to emerge yet. Right. It could be Watson. It could be Golden. It could be Reed. And it could be spread out among them and Tucker Kraft being the guy to own at the tight end position. That's a possibility. So hearing your uncertainty about Lemon, that makes Deebo Samuel the pick.
Well, I just wanted to show you our secret
that's an early
metrics.
Season guy. Yep.
So when I let Grok put it together and he's got our spreadsheet with all our super metrics, we got stuff that y'all hadn't even heard about here. Hey, it is what it is, folks. So a lot of times if I've got 2 or 3 choices, I like to see, I was already liking Samuel. Part of the reason that I already have tagged Samuel Worthy, because I kind of knew this was what our metrics had tagged.
Yes.
Juwan rates over Strange a little bit. And Golden is a lottery ticket. So Dennis, you described him well.
Yep.
Lemon is because we don't know what we got here.
No, that's a late season guy.
Yeah, so it's not surprising that the model doesn't know what to do with him.
No, and the model is looking at players full season, folks.
Yeah, and looking at, MVP is one of those metrics.
Yep.
There's the COM data that I actually posted, Dennis, our tiers and stuff. People can use one of our metrics, and we got some, we call the boom score. We got the CSI index. We've got the high-low. We've got the MAG. Dennis, we got more than we know what to do with, so we're doing a lot of testing.
Yes.
But anyway, if Deebo was gone, then Worthy probably would have been the one I would keyed on. But I like him, Deebo. I just wanted to hear what you said. And because of the nature of my team that I have, let me go ahead and pull the draft back up. So based on what I have already, I feel like I don't need to pull the lemon off the tree yet. I'm surprised nobody said that. So to me,
he could fall another round too.
Yeah, he could, but here's the only issue with this is one of those things, Dennis, that we hadn't talked about, but notice the balance here. Grok would say when I send him this, he'll say that you did good here, there, but you need another RB for depth. It's going to tell me that should be my priority, and I understand that. But folks, that doesn't mean that I've got to do what that says. And Dennis, our metrics love Zach Charbonnet for
Yep.
later in the season,
Oh,
right here.
definitely,
So
definitely a
my
redraft. Yep.
crafty plan is, given the number of bites I'll have, I think he'll drop, and I think I'll have a decision. Do I want him or Purdy or whoever? But I think, or Mahomes, I think I'm going to have plenty of shots at somebody like Charbonnet. And if I do, then I'm hoping that Stafford or Goff or somebody will fall, and then Sadiq will fall. That's kind of my plan, Dennis, my decision tree. I just wanted people, you're thinking, what is this decision? I'm telling you, Dennis, the way he can tell it and putting it with our metrics and using Grok to make sure I understand our metrics. Because if I didn't have, and sometimes, Dennis, I'm watching TV, I got to watch, fashion, adapt or have fashion or whatever, you know, I have to watch that for family time because, drafting 50 in August, I'm not around. So I get, some looks, Dennis, to stay married for 30 years, those looks. And you're laughing because you know that. You got to play. So yes, I got to act like I'm interested in, the kill you shows and the fashion shows and fashion to die or whatever, the merging of the two, the killing in the fashion industry. My wife
Oh
would
boy.
love that, that would be the ultimate show to watch. I kill my dressmaker, the monster behind the dressmaker or something, ice cold killers at the dress shop. I know what they're going to show us, Dennis. So, Dennis, I'm going to cut to the chase here because I made you laugh too. I'm taking Samuel here,
I
but I
like that.
explain where I think I'm going with this team here.
Yeah,
So,
and that basically for me,
yeah,
in using my better than zero game plan,
yeah,
that now tells me I'm good at wide receiver. I've got
yeah,
five now. I'm
yeah,
good at wide receiver. It doesn't mean I won't add a sixth.
right,
Just like when I've got two tight ends, I'm like, I'm good at tight end now. I
right.
don't really need that. And I love that going into round 11 because now all I've got to shop for are running backs and a
Yes,
quarterback.
yes. And I
That's
do need another
that's
tight
it.
end, but I think I
You
know
need
where
another
I'm
tight end,
going there.
but
And
there are
maybe take a third
plenty
late,
of late options.
like a
Oh yeah,
Congus or
yeah.
somebody, you know.
Oh
So,
yeah, yeah. That you're set up really nice because you've got five wide receivers that you can rely on, three of them every week, without a doubt. And that's building in a margin for error because
yeah,
if Thomas doesn't live up to what his billing is,
yeah,
see your top two guys. If Pickens doesn't live up to his top billing, he's still a good WR2.
yeah.
Thomas
So,
is going to probably be a WR2. So you're in
right.
good shape there.
Yeah. So let's do one more. I know people are bored. I'm telling you, we're throwing you nuggets, folks. You need to really listen and see this. We're putting on stuff for you. Okay. So I'll explain where I think I'm at here. Got some more JSN. Got my Olave, got my Higgins. I really love those
Oh
trio
yeah.
here.
Yep.
But because of that, Dennis, I have Henry Harvey's my number two and Aaron Jones. So I got to get the Claiborne later. I need my Coleman later. So I'm kind of locked into those deep RB picks coming up to try to cover my, and then Randall is even later still. So I know my three targets late in the draft, Dennis, to cover my butt here. But the good news, I did get Kraft. I did get Reed and Sutton. I feel like I'm really strong here. To me, our numbers show May as could be beat Allen, but certainly he's going to be in the top five. I really feel that way. Our metrics say that. So I think that's going to keep me alive a little bit and get me to the playoffs, having that. Hoping if Kraft stays healthy the whole season, I think I'm going to collect there as well. I love my WRs. I'm a little concerned, but I see the outs for
Yeah.
these RBs. And Dennis, real quick, I'm almost locked in. I know Stribling's there, but I see that Mahomes is there, but I think I'm gonna have to pass Mahomes. I see Coleman's there. I'm hoping he will make it back to me. But Charbonnet seems to be who I've got to pick here, Dennis. I think I'm locked in. Tell me, tell me what it's either Coleman or Charbonnet to me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I like others, but I think my roster is locking me in. I would love Juwan Johnson. Worthy's interesting, but I think I've got my WRs covered. I mean, look
Yeah.
at these
Yeah.
WRs
You've
here.
you've got your WRs covered and then some. So I would not be looking at a WR at this point.
Yeah.
I might have been looking at a different running back in the ninth than Reed with that much strength at wide receiver with your core four,
Yeah,
I like
but
to call them, because your
yeah,
core four, here's what really intrigues me about your core four. They all have different bye weeks. So that's a bonus. Like that's a super bonus. So I might have looked at running back a little bit deeper at 9, but
mhm.
this roster is incredibly strong, and you'll protect yourself at RB. So this is a classic illustration, folks, of a roster that is top heavy at quarterback, tight end, and wide receiver.
Mhm.
Okay, solid. Like can't be much better as long as injuries. And you're going to back up your quarterback, you're going to back up your tight
Yes,
end. So you're going to have protection there. But you've got potentially a QB1, like the QB1. And
could be.
worst case top 5 guy.
Yeah.
Tucker Kraft has the upside of tight end 1. He showed
Yes.
that before he got hurt. Worst case top 5.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry has the upside, believe it or not, folks, to be the RB1. And why do I say that? Touchdowns. He could be a touchdown monster this year, depending on how that offense goes. Top 5 is very doable for him.
I think
So
worst case, he'll be in the
worst
top
case, he's
12.
worst case, he's a 10 to 15 guy for
Yeah.
me. And that's not bad.
To
Like
me,
that's
my worst case is 8 is his ceiling. So
yeah, but
I don't think he can be the one, but I feel like he could be 5 to 8 is his ceiling.
it wouldn't shock me
No,
if 3 of your wide receivers are in the top 15.
no,
And
that's
it
true.
wouldn't surprise
JSN,
me.
Olave, and Higgins could collect, or Sutton
And
could
Sutton
surprise us this
could
year.
be in that. Sutton will be in the top 25. He's always in the top 25. He's a
Yeah,
big play guy.
yeah,
So I like Sutton there as the 4th wide receiver because he's a great double flex guy. You're
right.
talking second flex, Cortland Sutton. That's
Yeah.
not bad. But yeah, here I agree with you. It's running back that you'd want to be targeting. So here's the worst case with Henry. He's going to start the year. Old running backs, do they wear down? Yes, they do. What is Zach Charbonnet going to be doing as Derrick Henry wears down?
He's hopefully getting better and starting to ramp up.
Ramping up, and the fact that it'll be late in the season with Seattle wanting to lock up maybe a you know, another first round you know,
They
or
may
a
be, the
first
game
round bye,
scripts may be rushing more, Dennis, to
rushing
shut this
more,
game down. Yep.
and veteran trusted more
Yeah.
over the rookie. So
Well,
Charbonnet's
Walker's
gonna,
gone.
yeah, Charbonnet's going to get his share, and you know, we know Price is going to start the year strong.
Yeah.
Charbonnet could finish the year strong. I like Charbonnet here. The
Yeah.
other guy that I would consider is a Woody Marks,
Yeah.
because he's going to get his split, and then if something happens to Montgomery, he's going to
Yeah.
get more of a split. Those are the only two guys I would consider here, because you don't need a wide receiver, and Juwan Johnson is a bonus. Like, because you got Kraft, you don't need to go with a
No.
premium second tight end.
No.
I like Juwan as one of my tight end one types
Yeah.
as a late guy. So that I would put it down to Charbonnet and Woody Marks here.
Yeah. I'm going
And our data loves
Charbonnet.
Charbonnet late. Yep.
Yeah. And that's what we did right here. So let me shut this down here.
But folks, that's the style of drafting that you got to do. You're thinking ahead, and the professor's already talking about which running backs he's going to take in the
Yes.
12th, 13th, 14th, 15th
Yes.
rounds. He knows who he's going to be picking through the end. Notice he's limiting his upside, but he's maximizing that he'll have decisions to make at running back going forward. A brilliant move.
I like that. I hope so, Dennis. It was fun going through some of these.
So head on over to the scienceoffantasyfootball.com. Read about some of these draft strategies. My adapt or die article
Yes,
up. I've got a Superflex version of that
you
as
sure
well, so
do.
check that out. And my fun article as well, the how to filter noise,
It's up.
on social media, also up. The professor's articles, the Grok versus the Professor series. Take an afternoon, folks, and just read these articles, digest them, and then go on to the next one, go on to the next one, go on to the next one. There are so many interesting theories and ideas there. Head over to the sportsaffiliation.com and check out our sister podcast and all of the great podcasts over at the Sports Affiliation, and all of the great TikTok videos and the other stuff that they're doing on YouTube. I'm telling you, folks, they're churning out a lot of stuff. And come on back here next week for another edition of the Science of Fantasy Football.
Get to work, folks.